Watch as the unidentified woman, already on the inside of the lion enclosure fence, waves at the giant animal. Then, as the lion stands still, glaring at her, she dances, seemingly carefree, just feet away across a small moat. The video was taken by another visitor to the zoo Saturday. By today, onlookers at the exhibit had heard about the dangerous ordeal.
There was a woman who thought it was a good idea to go dancing with lions, and I'm wondering what the hell she was thinking.
Andrea Arndt's kids love lions, so she brought them by the exhibit, all the while wondering why the woman would do such a thing.
And what was your initial reaction?
That she was dumb. Why would you jump in with a wild animal?
Sophia Shiameta says she knows better.
I think it was kind of ridiculous that somebody would actually do that because they can die.
John Rubo heard the news while walking by with his 3 young sons.
It's just important to be conscious and smart about your actions when you're here. You have to be responsible.
He hopes the decisions of one woman won't ruin the experience for others.
At this exhibit, there's low walls, so you want to get close enough to see what's going on, but you don't want to have these high fences in front of all the exhibits. It takes the fun out of the zoo.
There is that moat, a narrow little river of water that separates the lion from the grassy area in front of the fence, which allows for a lower barrier for visitors to peer over. The Bronx Zoo did release a statement saying in part, quote, "Barriers and rules are in place to keep both visitors, staff, and animals safe. We have a zero-tolerance policy on trespass and violation of barriers." We're told the woman was escorted out of the park and the lion exhibit remains open.
Hello everyone, this is Elan Jones, and I have a few things to say about this story. Number 1, the Black American woman's image is being burned to the ground, starting with the title of this story, Jackass. The title of the article from the Daily News is calling this black woman a jackass, a woman being described as a jackass. Now, this woman was dancing. They put emphasis on that. Every story did. I mean, it was a part of the scenario. She was dancing. A few are saying she's twerking. It's always twerking with you, Black American woman. This is your image. I'd really like you to take note of that. I'm a Black American woman. I'm taking note. This melanin magic, black girl magic, brown skin girl thing, this is not about you. Because your image is twerking, wearing bonnets, being a single mother. That's your image that's out there. The melanin magic is for foreign blacks. That's who it's for. Foreign black women. From hot places. So Africa, the West Indies, the Caribbean. That's for them. Their image. For the dark-skinned women, their image. This woman's dark-skinned. But she's twerking and she's a jackass. That would never be someone who's a foreign black, dark-skinned woman. Their image, the corrective promotion that they want, quote unquote corrective promotion, is of royalty. Leveling up, marrying up, hypergamy, the high life, educated. For instance, Nigerian people are the most educated in the country. They have that image. These foreign blacks have that image, and you're twerking in front of a lion in a zoo, being called a jackass by a newspaper. Okay, moving on. The mental illness situation. The black community is deliberately ignoring this situation. Deliberately ignoring it. Week after week. I mean, in real life, it's daily. People are acting out. People are mentally ill. People are not getting services that they need for their mental health. We're being neglected. We're legitimately being neglected. Failed by the mental health community. some people are turned off by therapy. Like, really. And then on the other side of things, though, the majority of us, this is the truth. They're not saying that this is true, but this is true. The majority of us are actually open to mental health services. You don't know how many Black people I've met open to it, completely open. They were brave enough to ask for help. They had to ask repeatedly. They are and were open, but we're not getting the services that we need. We have to deal with either prejudice therapists, or we can't even get an appointment, because how you get an appointment, I don't know if anybody has ever been through this process, but you have to call this long list of different numbers, and they don't pick up. You have to leave messages. There was a study done, and I hope I can post this up when I put this video up. There was a study done that said that Black people got less callbacks. And listen, for people familiar with the videos that I put out, with the content on my channel, I'm not one of these people who just want to feel like a victim all the time and want to cry racism and white supremacy. I'm not one of those people, but this actually happens, and I know it for a fact. And then once you do get an appointment, if you are lucky enough to get an appointment, once you do get an appointment, are you going to be speaking to someone that looks like you? Someone who is you? Black American woman? Most likely not. Black people make up 5% of the American Psychological Association. Very small percentage. The percentage of ADOS or Black American therapists and psychologists is even smaller. What is it, like 0.5%? And are they going to take insurance? No, they're not going to take insurance. They want to live the high life, just like everybody else who gets master's degrees and up. Turn into some sort of scammer, don't care about giving back to the community. You just want to live the high life. Look, there may be other things that describe why they do what they do. They need to pay back exorbitant loans and whatnot. That must be a reality for Black psychologists. But I don't know. They're just going to have to speak up and tell us what's going on, because I'm not seeing them doing anything. They're not doing anything about the mental health crisis that Black people are going through. All they're saying, they just keep repeating this. They keep repeating that we should be more open to seeking services. We're past that. We're open. We're ready. Try to force some shit on us. Try to actually help. So, if you have the money to pay a Black psychologist who does not take any insurance, once again, they are most likely going to be a foreign Black person. I'm not saying that it's the end of the world if that's the case, but what I am saying is that identification that you might need, you might not get. You might not get it. People like to say that we're all Black, but we're not. We're not the same kinds of Black. People get mad when you say something like that. I don't know why. We're not the same kinds of Black. We don't have the same upbringing. Our family dynamics are different. Everything is different. Our culture is different. I would like to sit with a therapist who sees me, understands me, can identify with me, possibly, and who could truly help me, who doesn't have any bias. That's the biggest thing. I don't want someone who's biased against what I represent. A foreign Black person may be biased. A white person may be biased. A Caribbean person, Hispanic person, whatnot. Anybody non-Black American just may have that bias. You know how the world thinks of us. You twerk in front of lions. You're a jackass. That's what they might be thinking of you when you're sitting in that chair. So let's say you get past all of the bias that you possibly can. So if you know what, in order to do that, you have to be a dark-skinned black person with money who is of the same culture as the therapist. And guess what? You also have to be on the same level of attractiveness as the therapist. This is a very real thing that nobody wants to talk about. And I want to talk about it right now. Countertransference is what they call it. The therapist thinks a certain way about you. They have a certain bias and they can't get over it. And you remind them of something that they shouldn't be thinking about, basically. I'm really trying to make it vague, but basically they're supposed to not be biased against any of their clients or patients. You're not supposed to kick up old feelings of something or someone from their past and then they feel a certain way about you. That's countertransference. But in this day and age, people can't help themselves but to be biased, to be prejudiced. They can't put that aside. Doctors, psychologists, we have so much respect for these people, but these people are still flawed. Do not deify people who have high degrees. So you get past all of that stuff. There's no bias. Everything's cool. You feel like you're going to really be helped. There's a lot on your plate. You go in there and you're distraught, like you just really pour it all out. You just let it all out. When you walk out of that office, well, I'd say after you get the referral to the psychiatrist, and let's say you lucked out and the psychiatrist is also black and just like you, that's great. Still, when you walk out of that office, you're going to be diagnosed with either schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, because it's only those two that they diagnose black people with. I guarantee you, this is the honest truth. It's only those two. How many people do you know who actually went to therapy and that's what they got? They could have had an incredibly hard life and been emotionally affected by it, in a natural, normal way. They had a natural response to all of the stressors in their life, and they're bipolar. They're always bipolar. When people of other races get the more nuanced disorders and diagnoses, there are so many. Do you know how many black women have Munchausen syndrome? Munchausen by proxy? Abusing their children? This is something I'd like to speak about in the future. Will she ever be diagnosed with that? No. Will she ever even make it to an appointment in that chair in front of a psychologist to give her a chance to figure out what's wrong? No. And we're left with these disordered people trying to ruin other people's lives. You know what? Willingly and unwillingly. Sometimes people they're so sick, they don't do it deliberately. So back to the countertransference thing, though. You have a female psychologist, right? If you're better looking than her. Okay, sometimes it starts with the colorism thing. The psychologist is going to be a dark-skinned black woman. People in high positions in the black community are usually foreign blacks who are darker skinned. Not a lot of ADOS up in really, really high positions. So it only makes sense that they would be darker skinned, right? Because they're not ethnically like us. So it's a darker skinned black woman. And if you're lighter skinned, is she going to be able to get over the colorism bias? The very real colorism bias that darker skinned people can have against lighter skinned people. Can she get over it? Then, let's say you're the same skin tone and everything else checks out. Are you more attractive than your therapist? Your therapist hears how you speak, sees how you dress. Your therapist knows very, very intimate details about what's going on in your life. And your therapist may see your potential. Your therapist may think that you're a very beautiful woman inside and out. She knows that if you only got help, that you would be amazing. But she might not be able to get over the fact that that might in fact happen. You will move on to be amazing and get all the men. This is how she's thinking. And this type of therapist usually has a unnatural looking wig on, eyelashes, and possibly colored contacts. Show me a black therapist who looks like a normal woman, and I'll eat my words. But you got to show me more than 5. I had a supervisor. This is a few years ago, just a few years ago. I had a supervisor. She is a therapist now. Okay, I think she has her own practice, or it's a private practice that she works for. She's a therapist now. Okay, but she used to be my supervisor. She used to have dreads. She's a darker skinned black woman. She's very pretty. She's beautiful. And she is bald now. Bald. Shaved her hair off. They always do it. A large percentage of them. These professional black women. You think there's nothing mentally going on behind that? I don't care who feels what about what I'm saying right now. Oh, you don't know why a woman may do what she does. I don't care. I don't care. I'm talking about the truth right now. All right? Mental breakdowns. Because she probably doesn't even have an adequate therapist. She doesn't have adequate therapy in her life to deal with her stuff. And she may be feeling overwhelmed. I'm not even shaming her for this. What I will shame her for, though, is how she treated me. I have a very serious job, okay? And she used to say inappropriate things about my figure. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. That was her boss. My senior supervisor, who was an overweight black woman. Listen, both of them said very inappropriate things to me in inappropriate places, in front of inappropriate people, about the way that I look. Nothing bad, but inappropriate. All right, let me back up. They would say things about my figure. They would say things about how I belonged on the runway. That's inappropriate. I was very good at my job. I was competent. I was likable with the population that we worked with and other coworkers. Okay, and I experienced something that's a result of something called Queen Bee syndrome that I spoke about in another video of mine. And I'll just leave it at that. For all of these things to be going on, it just says how mentally unstable certain women are. And they're harming other women and normal women. Yes, that word shouldn't exist. What does normal mean? No, I'm an old-fashioned woman. I still use that word. Normal means normal. Normal women are being negatively affected by these other types of unstable women, and they need help. Normal women are in smaller numbers. They are now a minority. They need the help of, I don't even know, maybe the men. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Somebody needs to recognize what's going on. So, Black American woman, I will end with this. What are you doing to combat what you are seeing? You see how everyone is talking about you. You see your image. Your image, again, is twerking everywhere. Your image is single mom. Your image is child abuse. Your image is fighting. Your image is the cucumber challenge. It's not the image of other types of black women. They have a more polished image. I understand that life may be hard for you. Life is hard for Black American people, for a lot of Black American people. I understand that to deal with that, you may get lost in hair videos and gossip channels. But that ain't it. What are you going to really do about your mental health? Because you're putting it on the back burner. You're focusing on consumerism and other things to get over this. You need to address it. You need to continue to ask for help. Our voices need to be louder about mental health services that should be available to us. You are comfortable now, but once you lose whatever privileges that you have right now, you're going to feel the effects of all of this. That's all I have for today. I'll catch you in my next video.
How many of us would be open to therapy, but frankly would be hesitant to try medication, antidepressants and the like? Tell me why. Let me hear from you if I can.
Hi, my name is Tammy. I want to talk about the medication part first, because I'm a naturalist, and I believe our ancestors and stuff, they went through things, and it was natural remedies and stuff to heal things that we were going through. But at the same time, as a young child, we was military, and we were forced to go through therapy because we couldn't speak about what was going on in our household outside to anybody. So we had to go through therapy, but I sat there, I didn't speak. In my older life, I was pregnant and I was assaulted. I almost lost my baby and she survived. And I wanted to go to therapy. So I looked up a therapy, I did my research. I found a Black therapist, a female. I held so much in, so when I found somebody, I was ready to just release everything. And I did that. And she opened up her voicemail and her phone number to me to be able to call if I couldn't reach her. I did that as well. After I started doing that, that's when she started to fade away. She wasn't returning my phone calls. She booked my appointments 2-3 weeks out. She just became very distant. So I went back to the childhood phase of not wanting to go to therapy. I did try medicine. I tried it for probably a couple weeks. It did help, it did, but I ain't like the side effect. It made my stomach hurt. I don't oppose of anybody else's view, but I've been on both standpoints, so I just kind of view it differently a little bit.
I actually lost 2 sons. My oldest son was murdered at 23, and then my other son went swimming, and he drowned at 17. So at the time that my oldest son passed away, I had just entered into the ministry, so I was preaching. So I was in the pulpit, so I didn't understand how I increased the kingdom, yet he decreased my household, and then turn around and take another son. So that was really challenging for me. So I held a lot of it in. People in the church tried to help, but I was very angry. Still have a little relationship with God when working out. But my opinion on medicine is not to do it, because I've been on both sides. I tried it. I was so numb. I didn't know whether I was coming, going, or where I was. For 2 years, I missed out on my other son, who was 7 years younger than my one that was taken, his life. And to this day, I'm still trying to get that back, and that depresses me. And I'm going to share something else. In 2 days from today was the anniversary of my 17-year-old when he went into a coma. I don't know, I really didn't know why I was here, and don't think I don't have a connection with God, because obviously he put me here now for this situation. And I really appreciate, because as I look out and I look amongst everybody here, I see loving, caring faces that really understand a woman's hurt. It gives me that strength to be able to stand here now and know that in 2 days I have to relive that moment of my 17-year-old. I would love to go back to therapy, because yes, I fired my psychiatrist, I fired my psychologist. I feel like they let me down. Telling me that I had bipolar did not work. Putting me on all those medications did not work. Praying, unfortunately, it does not help. So when I leave here, I do want to know how to get in touch with you, because I need help right now. You know, I do.